RealAg Live, everybody. I'm your host, Shaun Haney. Thanks a lot for tuning in today here on this Tuesday. Hope you're having yourself a really, really great day. Okay, we're going to talk about, I think, a really, really important topic when it comes to the ag tech space. If you want to participate in today's discussion, you have a comment, you have a question, participate. That's what makes this show so awesome, is your participation. All you have to do is enter your comment or question in the box, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or Twitch. Or you can just send me an email too, I guess, shaney@realagriculture.com. Today's guest, she's been here before, and I'm really looking forward to having her back. It is Denise Hockaday of Climate FieldView. Denise, how are you?
I am good, thanks. Having a great day. How about yourself?
Oh, pretty good. Every day is a great day around here. Okay, today we're going to talk, like I said, a very important topic in the ag tech space. I think it's on the minds of a lot of growers. And whether you're using ag tech, precision ag to its fullest extent, or you're not quite there just yet, you've probably thought about data privacy. And I guess we should start off by kind of 100,000 feet. Why is this topic of data privacy more important than ever, Denise?
Yeah, I think it's important in all aspects of our life. So many things of our life, whether it be personal or business, have become digitized, or we're interacting in a digital way. We're storing information, personal information, not in filing cabinets, but on cloud drives. So I think that's something personally in all aspects of our life that we need to know. I think in agriculture, we are seeing more and more digitization in agriculture now more than ever before. Internet of Things, different devices collecting information. And so now I feel like the conversation is much more prevalent around, okay, so what about my data as it relates to my ag data or my field data and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because we talk a lot about in agriculture about how the farmer's experience is their knowledge, and that that knowledge is power. That's a phrase we hear a lot. So it's like putting money in a bank, so to speak. You think about it kind of the same sort of way, I think, which is why I think so many people are really concerned about it, or want to make sure that they feel reassured from the provider that the data is safe.
Yes. Yep. I would 100% agree. There's also a little bit more, I believe, playing into this is not only, yes, there's data, and data can provide knowledge and insights and to your point, power. But sometimes unlocking that means that you need to seek some advice from other people. So it could be, I know you've got agronomists that join you on Monday evenings. Those could be people that could help, decipher, look into the data. And so usually more the conversation comes into play when you start to think about movement of data or visibility of data, and how is that being done in a safe and secure manner, just so that really you can unlock the power of the data from your own farm.
Yeah, both our agronomists last night on our RealAg primetime show, the agronomists on Monday night, both of them dropped Climate FieldView several times. So you got some pretty good shout-outs last night from our panel of experts. So, okay, we know it's an important topic, but let's maybe start a little bit earlier. From your perspective, how do you define data privacy? What actually is that?
For sure. So when we think about data privacy really refers to anyone that's providing information or data to a platform, and the data privacy component is ensuring that data is being used for its intended purpose. So, for example, I could use like a Intuit example of, say, QuickBooks or TurboTax, one of their software products. I would provide some of my information to them. The intended purpose is so that I can complete my tax return. And that's part of their data privacy statement. And so, making sure that they have measures and provisions in place that do that. I would say the same thing is what the infrastructure we have in place from our organization is that, we try to make it as clear as possible that the information that's provided really is used for its intended purpose. And that's what data privacy is about, that you have the infrastructure, the controls in place, so that data is used in the intended purpose.
Okay, so obviously you can speak for Climate FieldView. We won't use other examples. If I'm using your product, for example, I upload my data into it, and it goes up in the mysterious cloud, and we can make lots of jokes about that. Who owns that customer data? Is it my data, or do you have rights to use it, do things with it? We've one of the big concerns to take it even further is people monetizing it. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, for sure. So each company would have their own data privacy statement or data privacy policy. We would encourage everyone, if you're thinking about it, to really look into the data privacy statements by each company. From our perspective, we've always said that data that Shaun Haney Farms provides to the platform is owned by Shaun Haney, and you have rights to your own data. So that data would be what you would either upload or stream, data from your equipment. You own that data that you provide and put onto the platform.
No, and no exceptions.
No, that's always been our position, and still remains to be our position.
Okay, so in terms of using some of that, the aggregated data in terms of R&D and things like that, can you break that down? Because I know that happens a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So also in the statement, we talk about how we do not use individual and personal information, but anonymized and aggregated data could come together to then help provide insights. So at the end of the day, as a platform, we can't provide insights to your farm and provide value back to you unless we actually can pull that information together. And so that's what we commit to as a platform, is that the information is used anonymous and aggregated, but then in order to turn back insights to you. So there isn't any personal identifiable information that is used in that front.
So is there ways for me to see how I'm doing? I use that sort of loosely, like almost like some benchmarking compared to other people that maybe are in my area or in my crop type, things like that?
Yeah, that's something that we don't offer in our platform today. It's something that others do. I would say, one of the things that we would want to make it sure was in place, if that was the case, is that people have provided consent to do so. So one of the things, like I mentioned, you're in control of your data. You own your data. At the same point, we also commit to providing an interface that allows you to control who you share that information with. When you share it, who you share it with, different levels of sharing. Maybe you just want to share some visibility. Maybe you want to share the whole field data. And so with anything like that, even from a benchmarking perspective, you want to make sure that provisions are in place that you have consent or you've provided consent for that information.
Yeah, because I would love benchmarking where it's like, I think I grew a really, really good wheat crop this year. And then I go in and I compare myself and realize that, I was good for me, but I'm still in the bottom third. These other people aren't calibrating their combines right or something. Something's going on here. But you do mention the sharing, kind of the sharing component of it. And I had a really good discussion on RealAg Radio with your colleague Jenna Metzger, and we talked about some of the sharing. And I think there's a real opportunity there, because I think for a lot of people that maybe have a staff or they're working very closely with an agronomist, they may want to show certain pieces, but not the full Monty, so to speak. You want to sort of give them a bit of this is what the information that pertains to what you do. You can shut off and turn on those filters as you like. I think I can see a lot of benefits with that, and where that would get a lot of use.
It is, for sure. So you talked about meeting with the agronomist last night. Really, at the end of the day, we've always said farming is a team sport, and that there are multiple people in the team that may need to have visibility to all or some or parts of the information to be able to do the job better, or to be able to provide advice to yourself at the end of the day. And so really having that infrastructure set up to be able to do that in a safe and controlled manner, I believe is really, really important. If I think back to what was the alternative before we had a platform like this, folks were moving around thumb drives, and there's a lot of information that comes off of those thumb drives from monitors, and really there's no security measures on any of that. The information moves around. I mean, it could be you could have thumb drives in a drawer that are sitting there for many, many years. In this case, it's it's quite controlled, and you can turn it on and off. You can share different levels, and so it's really at the fingertips of the data owner.
Well, I look at it this way too. As somebody that is not, well, not necessarily known to be the most organized, just knowing the data is there. Because you mentioned the thumb drive example. How many people have had that conversation? We joke about like, sort of the records on pieces of paper flying out the window out of the truck. But it's like, has anybody seen that thumb drive from last year? Right? It was in the drawer. It's sort of like your car keys. It's easy to lose. Just having the reassurance that it's in that cloud, I think actually would give me a little bit more reassurance that I know it's there and I can get to it and I can analyze it later and do the things I need to do, but I just know it's there and it's saved. I think that would give me reassurance.
Yeah, it does for sure. For sure. People that have had their computers crash or something crash on them, knowing
Yeah.
particularly because with FieldView, you can stream the data, right? And then it is in the cloud. You've got that backup. And if the iPad gets smashed on the ground, well, you can open up another iPad and download the information. Yeah, that's for sure.
So Denise, can you give me some examples of how you use aggregated data for internal use or some research and development? Like put it in a little bit concrete terms for us.
Yeah, for sure. So, from an anonymized perspective, what we would be able to do in an aggregated fashion is maybe we'd be able to predict some disease pressure or issues that would be happening or coming that may be able to be alerted to them as a customer of that's using the platform to say, hey, you might want to watch out to this. For this, another one, which is a real tangible example, is being able to bring the information that's not only say you provided, but then we also have the ability to bring remote sensing capabilities to the whole platform. And I could be able to say, hey, Shaun, you had a hail event. So many kilometers north of the farm that maybe you don't see all the time, but you wouldn't have known otherwise. I can actually let you know about that and alert you and say, hey, you might want to go and check that out. And so really being able to bring, not just the information that your farm would bring, say, to the platform, but all the other services we provide and remote sensing, imagery, weather, together to be able to provide those insights.
Almost like a crop scouting concierge a little bit in terms of here's some of the things that are happening you might not be aware of. And do you do that like alert through like a notification through the smartphone, or is it an email? Like how do you do that?
Yep, it's up to the preference of the user, but you could have an alert in app. You could have an alert by text or by email as well.
Interesting. Just deliver groceries too. That I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that it was doing that. You guys were doing that kind of stuff. How about with the collection of like rainfall and things like that? Are you doing any of that kind of information?
We do, yep. So information around weather, whether it be season to date or last 24 hours, is always provided in the app. But if there was a rain event, first thing in the morning, you will get a notification or an email. Again, depending on the preference you have, but you'll have an email summarizing all of the fields that you received rainfall on and the estimated rainfall.
Yeah. So Denise, why do you think some of these sharing features and being able to work with some real trusted partners, why is that so important?
So I think it's really important because different people with different areas of expertise can provide a lot of advice and insights. And so more and more as we work through this evolution of what I would call digitization of agriculture, step one is providing the information, getting it in one spot in a digitized format. And then kind of as you move along the evolution curve, it's like, okay, well, I've got this information in my system now, or I've got it in the platform. So what? How could make it work for me? And so that's where I think the power of sharing comes into place, because you can have people look at that, you can have them understand somewhat, you can dive into different things that happened, either a weather event or something that happened during seeding or planting, or something that happened in an application event or something. But you can actually, it's all logged, so you can actually go back and understand and dig into that. So I think sharing on that front is can be really, really powerful to understand what's going on and make good decisions going forward.
How easy is the managing this, who gets access and who doesn't, who you sharing with? How easy is that?
Really easy. So if you're open, say on the web to your portal, you would go to settings, sharing, and then you could see at any point in time who you have shared with and the level of sharing. Or I could say, you know what, I want to share my information with Shaun. And so I'll do Haney at RealAg agriculture.com. And then I can say, I'm just going to share this one field with Shaun. Or I can say, I'm going to share this whole farm operation. And I could say, I'm just going to share, my farm without yield information. Or I could say with yield information. So, but really it's drop down and a save. So I could share my information with you in seconds. I could revoke sharing in seconds as well.
A question here, Lindsay brings up a point. Lindsay Smith well, watching on Facebook. They're in Ontario, just outside Ottawa. She says, I feel like getting started on this platform is overwhelming. How does it work to get started? Is that a laborious process? Is it you kind of start from, okay, the 2021 year, we start now, or is there a way to bring old data you may have? And remember, that could be full of a whole bunch of empty spots. It's all sitting around the house on USB sticks potentially. So how does getting started work?
Yeah. So first to Lindsay's question, it's overwhelming. And so what I like to say is just start somewhere. Maybe if you feel, some folks feel like, oh my gosh, I'm late to the game. Well, no, the best time maybe to start was yesterday, but the next best time to start is today. And so, and start somewhere. Some folks, when they first start, don't try to use all aspects of the platform. They just start with one thing that they really care about. Maybe it's imagery and rainfall. Someone else might want to capture certain information. So that's, don't beat yourself up about something being too overwhelming, I guess is my advice. And the second piece is how to get started. And so really simply can sign up, go to climatefieldview.ca and hit the sign up button. You can create an account that way. And then what we actually help on the next number of steps. And so we have an activation team that can come out and help and get field set up, get your farm set up. And to your point, Shaun, if you have historical information, we can help you bring that in too, so that you can actually start to look at multi-year information before you get going in, say, 2021.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned a really good point, Denise, and that is, like, you're if you haven't started, you're not behind. Like, I think there's one of the building intimidation factors here is the fear of being judged that people are late. And there are people on, the full spectrum, the agronomy knowledge curve or the machinery curve. It's no different with ag tech. And there's no like right or wrong place to be. You got to do what works for your farm, no matter where you are on that pendulum. And I think people sometimes forget that.
Yes, that's right. That's right. The platform can do a lot of different things for folks, but it really, it kind of meets each farm where it is. So if you're looking for a unique solution to do X, like field monitoring at scale, can do that for you. If you want record keeping and reporting at the end, can do that for you too. But it's like you said, it's what you're trying to get out of it as a farm operation.
Yeah. What is the challenge like to build ag tech software that's, it's intuitive, but recognizing you have people on all ends of that spectrum, right? You have to keep the user experience elementary for people just starting out to not, have such a high bar for intimidation, especially comfort with even just computers and technology in general. And then you have this other group over here. They're kind of really super annoying. They're the super keeners that want something that is so intricate and complex and dynamic. How do you try to serve both those markets?
It's not easy, that's for sure. It's not easy. And anytime you add complexity to a platform, period, you have to be very conscious about the usability and the user experience. And so, we have a user experience team. That's what they focus on, and are constantly challenging any developments to make sure, okay, is this intuitive and easy to use? So it's not easy. That being said, you do have a broad spectrum of users, ones that want to dig into detail after detail. And so, thinking about how you can do that without being too cumbersome. So it's a challenge. And I think that as as a society, we've been spoiled. Certainly, I learned this, when I moved into this role and managing this business. Right, the things that we see in our everyday life, like you just talked about grocery delivery. Well, I mean, that makes it really easy. Everything we do, click, 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 order, deliver on this day.
Yeah.
Really easy. There's a lot of work that's really complex that goes into the background of that. And so I have much more of an appreciation for the work that goes in the background to really make it easy and intuitive on the front end.
And how do you in the development all of that and the things that we can do with ag tech software, where do you see us heading in the go forward? Are we just kind of at that early precipice of the possibilities, and we're going to look back 10 years from now on 2020 and say, haha, that was like, boy, we were like in the steel wheel days there. Like, how fast are things going to continue to change here?
I think we'll continue to see them move fairly quickly. I mean, a lot has already happened over the last 5-10 years. Maybe in each year you don't think it moves very fast, but when you compare it to what we were doing or what we had available 10 years ago, we've moved a fair bit along the way. I think that, even 4 or so years ago when I started in this space, there was a lot of startups. There were, 250 new startups a year in agriculture in Silicon Valley. So there's a lot of groups coming together. Maybe consolidation is a way, but there's a little bit of a settling that's happening. And I see a lot more partnerships. And so that's where you've got an opportunity for certain platforms, and then they can be partnering with some of these companies that have really unique capabilities that farmers may want, but maybe they're not going to, build out a full-fledged platform. And so there's actually a data privacy component to that as well. I talked about sharing, but the partnerships piece is actually a very important topic as well, because I do see where that is going to go in the future.
Yeah, and I saw, was it earlier this week or was it late last week? You had a press release that came out talking about your API and being able to work with partners, people that maybe have a precision service that they can use basically climate as the back end of their service. It's kind of unique in the sense that you're dealing directly with customers, farmer customers, but you're also providing like enterprise services, I'll call it, for people that are also dealing with farmers. That kind of makes it unique a bit.
Yes, for sure, and really important, because what we hear from customers is they want to be able to bring their information all into one place, right? So they want to bring maybe their soil information, or they want to bring their topography information, or they want to bring some other, say, high resolution on-demand imagery. And there isn't a single platform in the marketplace today that can do everything, nor may they ever. So it's really important that we can advance some of those technologies to the market, and farmers can have access to them faster by partnering, so that together farmers can use that. So, for example, I think the release that you saw was with Croptomistic and Swap Maps, as well as we've got Soil Optics, Devron, and gosh, that one is escaping me. Soil Optics, Swap Maps, Devron, and those are very Canadian specific, as well as a number of other partners that we have that are more North American or global. But the point there is, that announcement, or I'll use the soil example, is very specific. So it's a unique technology or unique capability that is important to the overall equation of, what's happening in the field. And so customers want to say, I want that information in with the rest of my data so I can help make sense of it. And so that's why the partnerships become really important. And then from a data privacy perspective associated with those, we have to make sure that proper controls are in place, so that only information that is, at the consent of the customer is shared or provided to enable that service.
So, and I could see those partners. That's actually another, there's one thing working with farmers to build out next versions, but those partners, they're really, when you're talking about Devron and what's going on with Swap Maps, those groups are really going to push you, and the collaboration there that actually speeds up and progresses the development of the product at a much quicker rate. So that's actually a really cool benefit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. And a benefit to farmers. I mean, that's our position. Our position is partnering is going to allow those new innovations and technologies come to agriculture faster, so that ag as a whole can benefit from that. And we'd like to help enable that.
So Denise, where are we at in the stage then? Or like for the early years, you talked about Silicon Valley, where money was just being thrown in. Everybody it was like everyone was going to be the leader. We were kind of everything was judged based on, or it seemed to be, from my perspective, like acres under management. So it was like, we have X amount of acres signed up. We were in acre sign up mode. Are we still there, or are we moved more into a different phase in the growth curve, and what is that called right now?
Yeah, not that I would have a specific name for it, but I would say different parts of the world are in different phases.
Okay.
And to some degree, it depends on access to technology, access to infrastructure, and by infrastructure I mean rural broadband connectivity, and which a lot of say these technologies are built upon. I would say in Canada, although there's always areas and spaces across the country for improvement, we are in a much better spot than some of the other places around the world. So, and in Canada, I find different. While we have very different and diverse farms across the country, at the core of farmers' needs, I hear very consistent things that platforms can help manage, whether it be logistics, information, farm management, so on and so forth. And so in Canada, I would say folks are still on the growth curve, still looking to digitize their farm, and probably still in the early stages of that.
Okay. Let's just swing it back here before we wrap up to where we started, which was data privacy, and trying to make sure that trying to provide a reassurance. 'Cause this is a question that a lot of farmers have: is my data safe, and who owns the data? And I think you should circle back on that in terms of answering that very, very common question for some of the viewers that maybe just joined us.
Yeah, for sure. So we data privacy and security of the data that is provided, is of utmost importance to us as an organization. It is what we do, and so therefore it has to be. So we take that to heart fully. It's also why we've built an infrastructure that allows customers to really control who sees, where it goes. It's in their control. And kind of just to reiterate that the information that's provided to the platform by a farmer is owned by the farmer. We do not take ownership of, Shaun Haney Farms data. We also don't sell it. We don't monetize the data. There's nothing there. We do not monetize the information at all. It is really what I talked about before, used to then be able to provide insights back to you as a farmer from that perspective. And I think there's just some really fundamental questions that if someone is thinking about this or you're looking at a data privacy statement, I think really should ask yourself kind of one of 5 things. What am I getting out of this? What is the value that I'm getting as a farmer by collecting this information and providing it? Who owns it once it's compiled? So I know I've kind of answered that, but these are things to think about. Control. Can I control it? How can I access it? Do I have it at my fingertips at any point in time, or do I have to ask someone to get it for me and send it to me? And, is it real time? From a third party perspective, I talked about platform partners. So are there controls in place so that when I want to, request a soil sample, I can do that at my control? And then stewardship, who has access to this information, and how is it being protected at the end of the day? Those are some really important questions that I think folks should be asking themselves and looking up in data privacy statements.
Hey, Denise, I really appreciate you joining us here today. Very, very important topic. I know it is on the minds of most farmers. It's the most common question that I hear all the time when we talk about ag tech. So I appreciate you addressing it here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks a lot to everybody that tuned in today. Tomorrow on RealAg Live, we got a good one for you. We got Tim Caulfield. He is University of Alberta researcher, also author of a new book called Relax Damn It. Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know he's looking forward to it. I talked to him last week on the phone, and he is jacked up to answer your questions here on RealAg Live. Also tune in to RealAg Radio on Rural Radio 147 today at 4:30 Eastern, 2:30 Mountain. And we got a great discussion there as well. Minister of Agriculture for Ontario, Ernie Hardeman, will be on the show. And we'll also talk a little bit about some of the other BRM possible outcomes that we could see here before Christmas. Thanks a lot, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Live. And we'll talk again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.